Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of Fantasy Tales. Today we're going to be talking about the big bad of Trollhunters, Gunmar the Black. But before we start, could you please chuck a like down below and subscribe for more fantasy content. And now, let's begin. Long before the present day Trollhunter story, trolls and humans lived apart from one another, living blissfully unaware of each other's existence. Soon the trolls and humans expanded from their home realms and encountered one another. War broke out between the two factions, corrupting the trolls' original primordial heartstone, and from its destruction, Gunmar was born, with one of its broken pieces directly tied to his life force, becoming the first triumvirate stone. More on that later. After this, different societies of trolls emerged, the most warlike of them all, the Gumgums, which means in troll, bringer of a horrible, slow, painful, and thoroughly calculated death. Jeez, need to work on your naming conventions. Anyway, in these early days, the Gumgums were unorganized tribes ruled over by the warlord Orlag, raiding and pillaging the local human villages, stoking the rage of the human occupants. Now, at some time, Gunmar had an unknown wife, and from this union came his son Bular. And during this period, he would also attack and kill the Quagwamp king, creating the second triumvirate stone, representing his first kill. And one day, when he was terrorizing the humans of a local village, a contingent of knights from one of the local human castles came to his encampment and slayed his wife. This understandably would send Gunmar into berserker-like rage, and he decided to wage a massive war against the humans that took what was so dear to him. Gunmar wasn't an idiot though, and he knew he would need an army to conquer the lands of man. So he challenged Orlag for the right of warlord of all the Gumgums. Their battle lasted weeks, with Gunmar losing his right eye and Orlag losing his head, with his right eye becoming the last triumvirate stone tied to his flesh. Gunmar instituted himself as the Gumgum king, taking up titles such as the Black and the Skull Crusher. Even with the swelling numbers, however, it still wasn't enough of a force to overwhelm humanity in destruction and blood. So he would carry out raids on the neighboring trolls across the world, and in the reports from his Gumgum horde, he found the goblins, a simple-minded race that were useful scouts, and the Krubera, which were the hardest force he had gone up against. So he made a secret deal with Userna, the Krubera queen, to give over their young in exchange for a spot in his new world where trolls would be supreme. At the same time, he discovered a troll scholar, the dishonorable Bodus, had found that if the triumvirate stones, cut and combined, could hold the power to destroy Gunmar. Catching wind of this, Gunmar had Bodus and his pupils hunted down and killed, with only one copy of his work surviving to modern day. More on that later. With the deal made, the young of the Krubera would be subjected to heavy torture and battle doctrine to test their mettle. And from this training, he would find a champion, a young Krubera known as Arg. He would make Arg his general, and he would prove to be his most powerful soldier, equal in strength to his own son Bular. In time, he would also develop a rivalry against the King of Camelot, King Arthur, who persecuted and killed trolls on a daily basis. Gunmar would also be approached by Arthur's sister, Morgan Le Fay, and due to her supreme magical prowess would come to respect her, especially when she enhanced his blade to create an army out of nothing, trolls that could disguise themselves as humans, and promising to bring about a spell of eternal night, which would allow him and his forces to travel anywhere they wanted and never have to fear the effects of the sun ever again. In secret, Merlin, High Mage of Camelot and friend to Arthur, the king, would seek to end the threat of Gunmar and broker peace with the trolls by creating the Amulet of Daylight, made by channeling the power of a moon crystal through the staff of two wizards. The Amulet of Daylight would summon armor and a sword that would be used to fight back against the Gumgum's horde and make sure they were locked away in the portal of Killahead. The amulet would also have a secret activation caused by adding the triumvirate stones, which Merlin had recovered from Bodis, to create the Eclipse armor and blade, which held the power to end the threat of Gunmar for good. This would all culminate in the Battle of Killahead, where the forces of Gunmar, Morgana and his army would face off against the forces of good trolls led by the first Trollhunter, Dea the Deliverer, and the forces of Camelot led by Arthur and Merlin. In the end, Arg would betray him and Gunmar would be defeated, with him and his followers being banished to the Darklands. The portal in Killahead was broken up and sent across the world to ensure Gunmar never escaped, with only his son Bular escaping his fate. But that's it for today's fantasy tale. Join us for part 2. But until then, may the glory of Merlin be with you always.